All right, we're doing it again. So this is actually really funny. Okay, so I am going to go back and delete the no sound version of this, but the thing that I want to make note of is thank you, Mira, for pointing out there was no sound. I kind of suspected that would might be a possibility because because the way I'd like set up the live and left it for a while, there's something kind of weird that seems to happen when that like with like all the settings. So anyway, here's the thing that's kind of funny about this, and Mira, like, thank you, and, is that I went into this so I started recording or streaming, I guess, this live, and we're part 2 of the breathing exercises, and I came into it actually talking about my own practice, and specifically talking about a situation that I was dealing with that was very fourth hub activating. And so one of the things that's really funny or like really great is that I was like, I don't know how much of this that I want to disclose. I am going to disclose some of it. But I was still processing it a bit. And then doing these exercises, it's like I'm totally like, it's cleared now. So it's like, so the one thing that is kind of a bummer is that that was actually a very active processing of something. So I'll tell you because I want to be really in when I was in the no sound version, I was really trying to be mindful of explaining like what was happening without like disclosing any like personal stuff about other people. But I want to say that like so I'm let's see where to start. So this is going to be part 2 breathing exercises. We're going to do them again. They might be a little faster this time, or better done. I don't know, or worse done. But so so right now I'm the president of a board of trustees, and I had a situation arise where there was someone who wanted something, a trustee on the board who'd wanted something done that was like specifically for them, but actually like really does require that all ownership gets to weigh in on it. And so I'd stated this and really, pretty with like kind of equanimity, and they came back at me like really hard and really aggressive and mean. And it's, and as I'm in this like fourth hub practice right now, I will say this is an older female. And so as far as like activating feelings in me, like there's this dynamic that's part of my patterning, which is trying to do everything right and do what's right by people and being met with like kind of unstable aggression. So it activated something in me that even though, kind of all the king's horses and men kind of came forward, sort of backing me up and in some ways like very much defending me, in ways that were, so, but it didn't matter. So here's the thing, very TPM here, is that validation externally, that it's like, no, they're wrong, it can be helpful. But the feeling that was activated in me was like overwhelm and anxiety. And when I unpacked it in the last session, it was hurt. It's hurt. Like that's like beneath the, it's like kind of peeling it back and finding that. And also knowing it has nothing, if very little to do with the current dynamic, and everything to do with like activating something that's familiar and deeper in me. So it's emanating from inside of me. And so in this, in terms of a parinama practice as it relates to that, is like, first of all, is really establishing that I'm safe. I'm physically safe in my body and feeling that sensation right now. And then for second hub, like the emotions is tying into like naming them, instead of just being like, oh, it's kind of like, yeah, this is the feeling. It feels anxious. It feels like sad. It feels hurt. Like the hurt actually like kind of like came out. So it's like naming that and like feeling it and identifying where it is. And then the thing with the third hub is being really clear in general about my actions being out of integrity so I don't second guess myself. So there isn't a question where I'm like, oh, was I wrong? It's like that's not part of the experience. It's like, or if it needs to be, that I can evaluate it from a sense of feeling personally secure, that it's like, okay, well, if I did do something wrong here, that I'd be willing to like evaluate it and see it with fresh eyes. In this case, not the case here. I was correct in my actions, but that's not always the case. And then it's coming into the feeling of hurt. Now let's do some exercises. Let's go into it. So I've already done these, so I'm feeling better, but just it's like this. Let's do a second wash, like rinse and repeat wash here. So the three breath modalities here, or modal, whatever, are like the reception and gratitude breath. We're going to do a breath ball and a resonance breath. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to bring up here that I kind of brought up more towards the end in the last one, but it's probably like one of the better points, is that these were really specifically selected for these techniques and exercises to be like yoking breath and movement without requiring that you change outfits or like even have to like move anywhere. That these are things where you can actually start to access that like internalized connection to like what breath can do for us anywhere, just sitting here. I don't need to like start doing like a vinyasa yoga practice. So we'll get into it. So first exercise here, and I think in the last stream, I spent a lot of time being like, do it. Because it's like the thing about the difference between kind of conceptually watching this versus actually having the feeling, it's pretty different. So in this case, I'm going to say, if you feel called to, follow along. If not, follow along. Just watch, whatever. See, now I'm like really giggly because I just processed a bunch of like crappy feelings. So this is like, yeah. Okay. So gratitude and reception. So this is going to actually, okay. It's going to be interesting because I've already done this and kind of brought the feeling into my body, and like you're seeing the result of that is I'm kind of like happy. I wasn't so happy in the last one. Yeah. Okay. So begin with your arms extended outward, like you're receiving applause from a standing ovation. Like puff your chest out a bit. It's already like in my body right now, so this isn't going to be as good. So inhale and exhale from this position without moving your arms. Just sort of receiving, like just like receiving, being like seen and appreciated. So just like embodying this feeling, like you're like standing on a stage, you're surrounded by people just like adoring, appreciating, cherishing you. So and you're like just imbibing that. So next on the inhale, bring your hands inward and place them on your heart. And briefly pause to feel. And then exhale and extend your hands and arms back out to the starting position again to briefly feel. When your arms are extended, say thank you. And on the inhale, when you bring your hands back in after the exhale, think or say, like, this means the world to me. Yes, and so actually, yeah, when I did this the first time, so one of the things is like with this is like feeling now, like kind of like where, like whatever's arising. So in the last time when I was doing this, I was actually like there was like kind of like movement that wanted to come out of my body, this little stomping and movement. This time it's kind of moved through. It's not there as much anymore. So darn it, I have to do this twice. I'm going to do it faster this time. So there's that. So, okay, so the breath ball, the link between breath and the unconscious functioning of reflexes and adaptations offers a bridge for nervous system transformation. So, synchronizing movement with breath is the central principle of the Vinyasa yoga style. So, Vinyasa links movement with breath to synchronize the mind with the body. This linking and its benefits can be achieved with simple movements, especially considering that the intensity of physical exertion in a yoga class or a teacher's pace can distract from concentrating on the union. Like in Sanskrit, yoga means yoke, as in two oxen walking in synchronization. In this exercise, we're yoking the mind and the body through breath and simple movement. Now, one of the things with like a typical vinyasa class, it's one of the things I loved about Ashtanga is that there's tends to be like a lot of consciousness around like physical fitness, even flexibility, and that kind of extension. But the actual like length and extension of your breath, to coordinate in vinyasa, you want to be able to bring the movement into like the full expression of the breathing. And that in like the vinyasa classes where you see them, I used to be frustrated because the breath cycles were so short. And so I was like, it just felt like I was like like a hyperventilation instead of an actual like extension into this like union like of moving the body and feeling that, like bringing oneself into that. So here what we're doing is we're actually taking that notion, that vinyasa notion, without it really requiring like physical ability for most people, for most bodies, and being able to find this as a tool that we can use and have accessible to us all the time. You can do this anywhere. And it's not really, you'll see, it's something you can kind of like, if you really are self-conscious, that you can go find like a, bathroom stall or something. But this is actually used by like somatic and trauma therapists as a way to really like bring people into their senses and do this type of union. So this is, really very impactful. So imagine you're holding a ball in your hands in front of your chest level, palms facing each other. So expand your hands out, growing the size of the ball, and coordinate this movement with your breath on the inhale. So on the exhale, move your hands together, shrinking the size of the ball. So inhale and exhale. So do this for up to 10 breaths, at least until you feel your hands are coordinated with your breath. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this together a little bit. So inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. See, I was like inhale and exhale. Two more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And so once you have synchronized the movement with your hands, with your breath, pause and return to breathing naturally for a moment and feel any sensations that are arising. So one of the things I noticed in that is that it's like when my attention goes off of it, even for a moment, the movement just kind of is like a, so it's like, and I noticed that, and then I kind of took my attention off of it, and it was just kind of like a function versus a union. So, and I don't know, so I just took us out of the feeling, but notice any kind of state change in that. So next, with your hands in the same position, turn your wrists and slightly shift your fingers to face the front of the room, and imagine them representing your rib cage and your thumbs the back of your body. So first, expand the space between your fingers, the ribs, moving them outward, holding the thumbs, your back steady, and synchronize the expansion of your fingers and the ribs on the inhale. So holding the back steady, we're just I'm going to do this for 3 breaths. Just the ribs. Now on the exhale, the fingers coordinate and return, so repeat 3 times. Next, synchronize the movement of the thumbs with the breathing into the back body, anchoring the ribs and the fingers. Like so, we're not moving the ribs and we're just doing the back. So repeating 3 times. So now bring it all together as you did with the ball and expand the fingers and thumbs, ribs, and back, and coordinating breathing within the body. So we're breathing all front and back all together. So 360. So go easy too on this. Like gentle. Maybe there's a little in there. I'm gonna do one more. I'll pause and just notice any sensations. Yeah. Ooh. It has like some effervescence I'm feeling. Like for whatever it was held, kind of. Tee hee. It's nice. Okay, so last but not least, we're gonna do resonance breathing. So this is breathing with counts. Most people like who have some type of familiarity with breathing are familiar with resonance breath. Specifically, resonance breath is about the emphasis on the exhale. So we're talking about like really trying to embody a relaxation response, whereas like the inhale emphasis and extension is going to be activating versus what we're trying to do here. Most people, like part of the reason for this is that like most people are actually hyperactivated already. For activating the breath, it's like if you need energy, I guess, but like, so I don't know, whatever. But so I'm going to read this and then we'll talk through it. It's pretty short. So we're going to get there. So resonance breathing helps to relax the nervous system by activating the parasympathetic functions through extending the exhale and adding holds on each side of the breath. The practice also helps to expand breathing capacity. The count is 6, 3, 9, 3. If you need to build some momentum, start with 2, 1, 3, 1. We're going to do this together. So inhale on the count of 6, hold for a count of 3, exhale for a count of 9, and hold for a count of 3. By the way, I mean, one of the things I've got to say that in writing these and even working with my editors, we're both painfully aware of like how just read alone without any type of like support. It's, you know, I mean, I don't know how great that is if you're just like sitting in a room reading that, but yeah, I guess like a placeholder for this. So you might be familiar with box breathing, you know, which is basically an like equal on all like 4 sides. So it's like we're holding empty at the top, inhaling, holding full, and then exhaling. So just to do a box breath, we'll do it on a count of 2. It's like, so we're going to inhale 2, hold for 2, exhale for 2, and hold empty for 2. I'm going to do another inhale for 2, hold for 2, exhale for 2, and then hold empty for 2. So I'm going to do this 6, 3, 9, 3, you know, we're just going to do 2 of them. So if they're shorter, if lung capacity is, kind of a little bit lighter, go shorter on this. So we're going to do it together. So we're going to inhale 1, 6, then hold for 3, and then exhale for 9. Hold for 3. Gonna inhale for 6. Hold for 3. And then exhale for 9. Then hold empty for 3. And then just come back to regular breathing and just notice any state change. And just like I'm going to So what I can feel right now is that kind of like the little like low key blissy kind of like feeling, just like very, but individual experiences, just reporting live from here. And so one of the points I want to make with all of these, and the final piece here in the writing, is that according to the sacred yoga text, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, that both the mind and the breath are united together like milk and water, and both of them are equal in their activities. So if you slow down your breathing, your thoughts and physical activation will correspondingly slow down too. So the point I want to make, or just maybe in summary here, reading through this right now. Okay. So these 3 exercises, like reception and gratitude breath, is actually for like bringing in the feeling of receiving physically and bringing in that state change. And even if you're just changing a couple of degrees, like that you have as a tool to bring that sensation into your like felt sense. The breathing ball is like, once again, these are tools, and the importance of them, as I've kind of selected them, is that they're things that you own, that don't rely on actually necessarily like following somebody else's guidance. These are your tools that you can use to internalize and feel these sensations as naturally emanating from the inside out. One of the things I think that's particularly challenging, especially with vinyasa yoga, with the sequences being constantly changing, is it like has this forcing function of having to like constantly be watching someone else and taking a cue from someone, versus like with Ashtanga, you have a really nice opportunity to go in and like feel your practice internally, and like actually like tap into this like extraordinary phenomenon, which is your lived experience from the inside out. So here, like very similar to like, some of the tools that were brought up in TPM for beginners, some of these that we'll get into at the end of the book, but that they're just readily accessible, and that you have tools for state changes that are like that really can happen right here and now, that are owned by you, that are within your power to actually like activate and use. And so I've now doubled down. I've done these twice. So like the issue, and it's kind of, I guess, as a testament to it, is that the first run through, I did a really long discussion about like my state coming into it as a result to the situation I talked about at the top of this. And one of the things I even forgot to mention was about this notion, because it's like softened and dissolved a bit to the point it's not as strong, like the hurt is actually, I'm not feeling it really at all right now. So, I mean, I guess The double wash got the job done. But the one thing I that was an observation in the first time was that I had this feeling of hurt, and that, like, I like, this has been, we've discussed this in like the first hub, which is that if you're having something where you're feeling physical, like lack of physical security, like maybe you get an unexpected bill or you get sick, or like something that relates to your sense of like physical security, happens and maybe activates that feeling. And this goes for any hub, but anything that activates it, it's like you'll notice that, like, that patterning will start to like magnetize other aspects of that hub. Like, that there's kind of a weird thing where it's like the anxiety will get like start seeking out, or even just take on anything else that's arising, and find that quality in something that's happening, and like, and start to like pull it out. And here, an example here was that I was feeling kind of like a fourth hub hurt. And so with Parinama, there's a strategy that I had not really wanted to invest in, but had been willing to, upon like the advice of somebody that I respect, sort of put a little effort. I knew it was just too much effort for a low yield, very analog kind of thing. And I'd received a note that was like, yeah, it's not working because I'm not willing to put the time into it, for this particular thing. I don't want to get into specifics, because they're not really necessary. But it just was like, it was interesting because I was already feeling kind of like hurt and rejected, because that was something else. Because I was like, and like, so that coming in like felt like, even though it wasn't a surprise, like like that, this feeling found that in there, found the like one molecule of like the notion of rejection, or like this didn't work, or like, let's see, let's find that. Yeah, like that, like maybe like this notion of like embarrassment of having tried something and having it not work. So that's like tied into this thing of like trying to do a good job and being like dumped on. So I think there's that kind of thing. Like, so that kind of found that in there. And so that heightened the feeling. Now it's gone. It's gone. Like, so like, well, so yeah, it's like the sensation of it is like dissolved. So yeah, like a great thing, with, as mentioned, with this type of practice is like we're really finding it in ourselves, and like we're working it from the inside out. So that's it. So thank you, Mira. You made me do it again, which is great, because that actually refined it and gave me another go around. It's funny because the first go around was kind of like the first recording, it was sort of like, it was challenging because I was party nominating. I was like really doing work in it. So I was like, the notion of doing it again felt kind of like a little bit daunting. But I will say that it was like a lot easier. Yeah. Well, see, there you go. Well, here's what we have to look forward to next time. Maybe I'll do a live. I could. It's really very possible. I've already done one in the grief section, a live action demonstration of crying. We'll see. Seems like very possible. I've become really good at it. Crying as, yeah, as a technique and exercise, and being good at it. One of the things, and it's probably in here, so this is like a spoiler alert, but one of the things was, for years, I was like, I'm a person that doesn't cry. I don't cry. I don't cry. I don't cry. Yeah, turns out everybody cries. Same thing as like, I don't dream. I don't dream. Everybody dreams. It's just whether it's repressed. And so it's like, it's just like part of the thing of being a human being that's alive. We do all these things, and crying is a great somatic exercise. Oh my God. Yeah. And so if you're like, I'm going to skip that one, I'll tell you that one of the things is that, and this kind of goes for all of this, and actually just what kind of happened for me is that, in a smaller way, is that it's like the first, initially, like when we kind of like open the floodgates, there can be like a surge, but it's kind of like and it evens out. It evens out. Like there's a first kind of like blah, and that can be like, oh my God, like you see it and it feels like a, kind of like it's gonna overtake you, but it just kind of flows over and becomes like a natural process. I mean, because all this stuff is natural. Like it's all exists in a homeostatic, responsive, natural way. And when it's held back for extended periods of time, it's like whatever like shaming function or like socialite, like whatever is like, I mean, it is holding attention, and whatever age we were at when that tension was created is going to see that and be like, this is massive. So it's like we're restoring natural like dynamism here into this stuff, you know. Um yeah, it's like an integration because it is. I mean, the thing is that it's like in this world, like we really can't act naturally. Like there really is a reality of the fact that, it's like we do have to hold things back, but it's like if we're holding it back and not realizing we're doing it, that's where like that and not actually reconciling stuff and processing it actively in places where it's like safe and healthy and whatever, like it's all good. So anyway, thank you so much. I love you so much and I can't wait till next time. Thank you. Bye for now.